Days in Maidenhead. Oh, she said, this is my life, let me live it in your head. She was a tiny little princess in the shadows of the garden, in the trees. She was alone, the world, all the waltzing days in Maidenhead. Swirling in the blood and in the red. Oh, it's never cold under the bridge instead. Sacred waltzing days in Maidenhead. Like Patricia, when EU politics makes killers into her bed, and she paints her lips pale raspberry. Oh, the days they'd spend dancing in an empty room by the riverbed. All the waltzing days in Maidenhead. Let me get inside of your head. Flying low, I know like firemen. It's like waltzing days in Maidenhead. All right, guys. Welcome, everybody. How's everybody doing today on this lovely Friday? Welcome to Real Crusades History Live, Coffee in the Crusades / Ask Me Anything about the Crusades. I got my coffee. You guys have your coffee? All right. I tend to drink coffee at least from about 7 in the morning until, I don't know, this will probably be my last cup right here. Maybe not, though. I got a lot of video editing to do today, so it might go on longer than that. Hey, we got somebody listening in from Turkey. What's going on, Sam? Or should I say from Anatolia? And Chris is here. He says hi. How's it going, Chris? And Nalu, good evening from Spain. All right. What part of Spain are you in, Nalu? If that's not too personal a question, but just roughly, what part of Spain? Which region? Which kingdom? Castile, Leon, Galicia, Aragon, Catalan, South. Okay. Al-Andalus then, right? Okay. Let's see. Who else is here? Declan is here. Declan, good to see you, my friend. Zytron. Sam. We got kind of a regular crew showing up. Hey, Sam. Once again, everybody, please give your thanks to Sam. Sam really did a lot to make the Knights of the Cross pilot episode happen. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and look at the Knights of the Cross website. I'm very proud of how that's looking. Here it is. And some people have been very generous and have contributed to the campaign recently. I want to say thanks very much for that. But yeah, go over to knightsofthecross.com and check out the website if you haven't done that in a while. The pilot episode is coming out. It's going to be November when it actually comes out, but you guys will get to see a teaser and a trailer before then. And I'm really excited about it. And yeah, if you can, please throw a little bit of extra change over to the project at knightsofthecross.com. Every little bit helps. Or if you want to throw a lot at it, and that's fine too. We will certainly appreciate that. So I have to say, I look forward to these streams. It's fun just kind of talking to everybody. Is the audio okay? Let me know, guys, if the audio is sounding decent. I do have a decent mic that I got for this purpose of doing this, so that's good. But yeah, let's. Declan said filming starts in September. I'll tell you what, Declan, we already filmed the pilot. We have filmed it. The pilot episode was filmed the first week of this month. So it's been filmed. It's being edited together right now. But right now we're at this phase of, and I want to say first of all, thanks to everybody who donated for the pilot episode because of the budget we put together, we were able to create the pilot episode. So you guys made that happen. Thank you so much, and it's going to be awesome. I mean, again, we worked with a production company called Cinema Forte. Group of very talented guys, very professional, very just on the ball. Very grateful for those guys. So what kind of coffee is everybody drinking right now? I'm drinking like whatever my wife bought. I'm not even sure what it is. But yeah, what we're raising money for right now in terms of Knights of the Cross is the episode 2 and episode 3. Our goal is to raise at least $300,000 for that and work with the same company we worked with last time, but with an expanded, budget to improve, to be able to do more. We did a lot with the pilot budget we had, which was about $40K, I think. But we did a lot with that, and these guys really stretched every dollar, and very, very grateful for that. Sam says, Jay actually has a shield I made for the production. Yes, I need to bring it up here and show it. I will do that. Maybe I'll see if my wife can grab that in a second here. But And Alexander is drinking Mystic Monk coffee. And thanks very much for that, Sam. Nalu says, with this heat, fresh water. It's hot here too, but I'll tell you what, heat does not deter me from drinking a lot of coffee. I don't know. I drink a lot of water too. Like I drink a lot of this seltzer water type stuff. I don't know if you guys like that. I pretty much have coffee and seltzer water with me all day long. All right, so let's get into the show. First of all, today's t-shirt is the Knights Hospitaller shirt, which I wore quite a bit during the filming of the pilot episode. You guys will see a link to grab one of those in the description below. Absolutely essential to have one of these. And if you guys want to send in a paid question, that option is available too. Just go to the link for Power Chat down below in the description. I will be monitoring for those, make sure I catch any of those that show up during the stream. So that's available too. So there we go. All right, guys, let's get into the show. What questions does everybody have today about the Crusades, about medieval history? Last time we had on a guest for the first time on Coffee and the Crusades. That was my good friend, Helena Schroeder, who has written an excellent book that I hope everybody will check out. But check out that last stream. That was a lot of fun. This is what I'm reading right now, guys. It's The Mongols in the West by Peter Jackson. This is a classic in terms of Mongol history, especially related to the Western world, which is what most interests me. But this is really good so far. Has anybody read this one? I'm going to use this as a source for, well, I actually already used part of it as a source for the last video I just put up, which, God, have you guys seen how that video is doing? That video is just killing it. I'm really excited. This new video about the second Mongol invasion of Hungary. Apparently that's a popular topic. I think it's just about to hit, no, it crossed 200,000. And I uploaded that a week ago as of this evening. So, wow. I'm really excited about that video. But yeah, another video I'm going to be doing before too long is about the Battle of Mahi between the Hungarians and the Mongols, which I think is a very fascinating battle. And Nalu likes Peter Jackson, so good deal. You guys are all drinking water. Well, that's good. That's good for your health. I'm glad that, I guess I'm the only one drinking coffee on Coffee and the Crusades. But Declan wants to know, what are your thoughts on Count Raymond III of Tripoli? You know, I don't think I have enough information to make a really decisive judgment about him. I think maybe we never will. But I think that I think at times he acted potentially treacherously. I can't talk this morning. But I'm not sure. I think that if what the sources we have are true in terms of his advice at the Battle of Hattin, I think he was right. I think he did, he did demonstrate some foresight pretty consistently. I think a lot of these people had conflicting motivations and conflicting interests pulling at them. On the one hand, his personal interest as Count of Tripoli. On the other hand, the problem with Guy of Lusignan, who just kind of created a lot of divisions. So, that was a reality. Let's see here. Chris, did any native Christians in Outremer join any of the military orders? Yeah, as far as I know, certainly. I mean, there were native Christians who became Templars, Hospitallers, that sort of thing. Declan, we got that one. Alexander, did you like the movie Arn the Templar? I'm from and live in his part of Sweden. Well, that's pretty interesting. I like your last name there, Nordenskjold. Nordenskjold. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I did like things about that movie. I liked the visuals a lot. In fact, when we were coming up with working on Knights of the Cross at first, we used a lot of stills from that movie as references to outfit our guys, which was very helpful. So I think there are good things about that movie. It's not really historically accurate at all, as far as I can tell. I don't know about the history that's going on in Sweden. I don't know that history well enough to just rattle off whether or not it's historically accurate. But in terms of the Crusades, really not at all. I mean, like, for example, Montgisard is shown as kind of just the Templars, figuring it out on their own and doing the whole thing on their own. Also, Saladin's character is pretty inaccurate, and there's also like a part where they surprise Saladin. Saladin's like traveling alone with just a few guys, and Arn finds him and helps him escape or something, which is very inaccurate. I mean, if a Templar had happened to stumble upon Saladin traveling in a vulnerable situation, Saladin would have been dead. Believe me. Believe me. Zytron wants to know, was there any collective effort to organize a crusade against the Mongols? Yeah, there was. My impression is that there was a lot of confusion around what was going on with the Mongols or how to deal with them. And the Mongols themselves kind of, vacillated on whether or not they were going to really invade Europe or not. Ultimately, they didn't really push that far into, they didn't really push too far into what we consider Latin Christendom. It was mostly Eastern and Central Europe that suffered because of them. Hungary was about as far as they went, I believe, which Hungary, they're kind of right there on the flank of Latin Christendom. But yeah, there was kind of a lot of confusion about, well, are these guys going to be our allies or our enemies? There was definitely negotiation with the Mongols against the Mamluks. We know, in fact, I did a video a while back about Crusader-Mongol alliance, which, was a thing, kind of. It never really got off the ground, but there was certainly negotiation with them and that kind of thing. Okay. All right, let's get some more questions here. I hear people say that most of ancient and medieval history is made up. Any thoughts on this? I don't agree with it. It's such a broad general statement that you can't really, it's like saying, most human beings are liars or most human beings are honest or whatever. It's just kind of a just so story. What do you mean? Like, what's made up? Give me something specific. Because the problem is then if you brought that up, it would refute the point, because they would say, well, okay, this example, and then you could show, how historians know about that. There's a lot that we don't know, for sure. There's all kinds of stuff that probably happened during the First Crusade that's just lost to history that we just don't know about. But there are things we do know. For example, especially when things are confirmed by multiple sources, like if a Muslim writer is saying something, and then also a Christian writer from the Latin camp is saying it, and we're talking about two entirely separate branches of knowledge and understanding. They could not inform each other. Then that tells you something. So, yeah, I think that's kind of a good lesson in life too. When people make these broad, sweeping statements, it's just kind of, okay, well, let's get to the specifics and see what's going on there. Chris, have you ever seen Rise of Empires Ottoman? I have not seen that, my friend. Issa, Al Guti, that movie was good. Yeah, that was a pretty good movie. There were things I liked and didn't like about it. The actress is beautiful in that. I can't remember her name, but gosh, she's gorgeous with that long blonde hair. They did a really good job with her character. Who was that actress? Somebody look that up for us. She was gorgeous. Alexander, any thoughts on Prester John and mythology surrounding his character? It's kind of an interesting thing. It kind of tells us something about, the way in the medieval world, the farther away you got from where you were, the more vague the understanding tended to be. And so Prester John was just kind of this vague idea that somewhere out there was this Eastern Christian king who would, help out the Crusaders eventually. One thing I heard that's kind of interesting, apparently the Mongols thought that in the West, there was a 500-year-old wizard named Papa, who was the main ruler, and all the kings were loyal to him, and he had magical powers. And 500-year-old wizard named Papa, the Pope, right? Have you guys ever heard about this? I just heard about this in a podcast. I'm not sure. I didn't read it in a scholarly work, but it was done by some guys who seemed to know what they were talking about. But that's a good story anyway. 500-year-old wizard named Papa. Let's see here. How similar were the Knights of Calatrava to the Templars? Very similar. The Iberian orders were all modeled after the Templars. I don't really know a lot of specifics about them, like how rigid their discipline was. I know later on, a lot of those orders tended to become kind of, especially the titles, tended to become kind of like honorific titles that were granted to important men. Especially upper ranks of the nobility. Like I believe Queen Isabel's brother, who died when he was pretty young, who was going to be the heir eventually, Alfonso, I believe he was granted the title of Master of Calatrava or Santiago or one of those orders. That's just kind of how that worked. Sam S. Rise of Empires Ottomans a little over dramatized. I can't talk today, guys. D. Chronicles do show slanted viewpoints, but general truths can be gleaned. Right. And what D is talking about here is that you can't just read a medieval chronicle and think, well, this is just what happened. I mean, medieval chronicles represent the biases, the preconceptions, even, maybe even attempted deceptions of the author. So historians go through a process where they look at their evidence and they figure out what is legitimate and what's not. And I mean, there are ways of doing this. I mean, history, there's a methodology to history where you sort through the information you have and try to figure out what happened. And it's a reliable method. I mean, I think it's a somewhat scientific type of method personally. I mean, it's the same kind of process. It's about looking at the evidence and trying to figure out what the reality is based on your evidence. And in that process, you're going to find information that's inaccurate. And chronicles are filled with both helpful and unhelpful information. But one thing that they can do, even when they give us, when a chronicler is misleading, whether intentionally or not, they are going to show us something about their perspective, which that in itself is helpful. How did, for example, what was the Byzantine perspective on the First Crusaders? Well, you can get a lot of that from Anna Karenina. There are a lot of things she says about the Latin West that are not true, but it's interesting and it's helpful to understand how she perceived them. And so you can get that from a medieval chronicle, like from Anna Karenina. Okay. Right. Declan says, especially when you understand the biases of the authors. The biases in themselves are a part of history and tell us something about history. So really everything in a medieval chronicle is useful, even the inaccurate information, because it tells us what the author believed, what were the assumptions of that particular author's culture. And Sam S. says, better to read Mehmed the Conqueror and his time by Franz Baminger for the events in the rise of empires Ottomans. I've only read a few things about the Ottoman Empire, like specific historical works about the Ottomans. So I'm not as interested in the Ottomans as I am kind of getting interested in the Hungarians and how they dealt with the Ottomans. The Hungarians are interesting people, I think. Sam, when chroniclers on opposing sides say the same thing, we can be reasonably certain that is true. Right. A really interesting example of this is the Battle of Jaffa, which is well documented both by the Latin Christians and by the Muslims. And Saladin's own court biographer, Ibn Shaddad, gives us some details about Richard the Lionheart's campaign that day that are really outstanding and are confirmed and kind of will help confirm what is presented in the Latin chronicles. So, whereas you might say, okay, well, I don't know if I believe, Richard's own knight or, chronicler, what he's saying about this campaign. I mean, maybe he's exaggerating a little bit, but the most remarkable stuff comes from the Muslims. The Muslim writers really are crucial to confirming the events of the Battle of Jaffa. D says, gorgeous women, apples of ivory. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. I guess I'm missing the joke. Declan, no. Chris, Stephen, I think the actress' name is Sophia Helen. Okay. Excellent. Zytron, I know at some point the popes sent some monks to talk with the Mongols. Maybe through translation, the miscommunication happened. I believe Louis IX like one of the things the Mongols would do is they would ask for submission really before even interacting with a kingdom. Like they sent embassies to the West demanding that the kings of the West, just submit to the Mongol Empire. And I believe Louis the Ninth, when he was kind of trying to encourage the Mongols to be Christian, he sent them like all the stuff they needed for a mass, like sacred vessels and this kind of thing. And the Mongols interpreted that as, oh, he's sending his offers of submission. Look at all this wealth he's sending us. But no, he was actually just trying to encourage them to become Christians and to celebrate Mass. And Louis regretted, sending all that stuff at that point. Okay, William of Tyre did that to Reynaud of Chatillon, Jocelyn III, Senchal, and Agnes, mother of Baldwin IV. Tony, heck, even today we still have biases. Right. Right. I mean, this is kind of just a reality of dealing with human beings. As human beings don't always give you accurate information. When you're interacting with a person in your daily life, you don't know exactly what, there are things you might have to question that they tell you. D, thank you, Jay, about examining different sources from opposing sides. You are welcome, D. Thank you for being here. All right, we're getting through everybody's posts here. Declan, which is why we still argue about historical accounts from the past. Exactly. Declan. Right. Yeah. I mean, we disagree. I mean, historians today will disagree about things that happened in the 20th century or even more recently. Earth and water. Apples of ivory describes the ideal medieval woman's bosom. Okay, I see. So you know more about some of that trivia than I do, D. So you're saying that the ideal bosom is apples that are the color of ivory, like apple sized. Is that what you're saying? I don't know. It might be a little bit too small. I don't know about that. For the late medieval Hungarian kingdom, an important work in English is From Nicopolis to Mohawk by a scholar named Tamás Palsovalvi. Yeah, I've heard about that book before, Sam. I will check that one out. I'll check that out. I'm wanting to get more into the Hungarians and the Ottomans. So yeah. And Nalu says, just look at the news, how a man has been vindicated and proved as victim of domestic violence. There are still some I'm not sure what. We won't get into that, I don't think. Did Pope John Paul II apologize for the Crusades? I don't believe he did. I think he apologized for the Fourth Crusade, which wasn't really a crusade, but I don't think he apologized for the Crusades in general. Chris, though any primary sources of medieval Scott Amos are absolutely true. This is true. All right. Well, guys, I think we're kind of getting close to the end here. In case somebody's just joining, this is Ask Me Anything About the Crusades. Coffee and the Crusades, where we drink coffee and talk about medieval history. Any final questions anybody has before we shut things down? And we'll be back, of course, on Tuesday. Just so everybody knows, we do this live stream every Tuesday and Friday at noon Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Central Time. So it's a good time. We just kind of get everybody together with the Real Crusades history community. Chris wants to know, do you know any books of King Sigurd and his crusade? I don't know if there's any specifics just about King Sigurd. Let's look here. I'm curious. I don't know. I don't think so. Alexander, thanks for the stream. Well, thank you for being here, Alexander. All right, guys. Well, I guess we'll close it down for now. I'm going to get back to work on my new video, which is about, you guys may enjoy this. I'm doing something about St. Fernando III and the conquest of Cordoba, like complete with the maps and showing the whole campaign. So I think that's going to be pretty cool. I hope you guys will enjoy that. And then after that, I think I'm going to jump back into the Mongols and do something about the Battle of Mahi. We'll see. But you guys let me know what you're thinking will be good. But yeah, and also please, everybody, stop by the knightsofthecross.com website. I've got it up on the screen there. Please help us out with raising funds for that TV show. It's going to be awesome. Thanks to everybody who's already been helping out. And we will talk to everybody on Tuesday. And until then.